Welcome back to AR Tales. Today's story starts with this line. My ex-girlfriend said to me, "We will still be friends, right? You have always looked out for me." Literally 5 minutes after dumping me to reconnect with her true energy, I said, "Sure, absolutely." What happened next when I showed her what real friendship actually looks like will blow your mind. As you listen, think about the moment where you would have stopped helping. I am Ethan, 31. I run a small home renovation business in Charleston. I build kitchens, fix walls, and try to keep my work and my life simple. Riley is 28 and calls herself a creative consultant. In practice, that meant lots of inspirational posts and a lifestyle that cost more than her income. Somewhere along the way, the gap between what she made and how she lived became my job to fill. We had been living together for around 8 months in an apartment downtown. I was paying about 80% of the rent because I earned more and I co-signed the lease since her credit was not good. Looking back, that was red flag number 1. When someone cannot qualify for the life they want on paper but still expects to live it, you should pay attention to who they think will carry the difference. One day I came home from a job site and saw this whole scene in our living room. Candles lit, laptop playing soft meditation music, Riley sitting cross-legged on the floor like she was about to lead a retreat. She told me she had been doing inner work. She said she felt spiritually stagnant and needed to explore her authentic self. At first I thought she wanted to change careers or move to a new neighborhood. Then she said, very calmly, that she thought we needed to take a break. Before I could even process that, she added, almost in the same breath, that we would still be friends, that I had always looked out for her, and she knew I wanted what was best for her growth. It sounded less like a breakup and more like a role change. She was trying to move me from boyfriend to unpaid support staff. I asked how she planned to handle rent and bills on her own. She looked at me like I was making things complicated. She said we would work it out, that she was good for it eventually, that I had always been generous. Then she repeated the line about staying friends, about me still looking out for her. In that moment, I understood what friendship meant in her head. She was not asking if we could still talk. She was asking if I would keep paying for most of her life and fixing her problems, just without the commitment. This is a common pattern. Some people do not want a partner. They want a safety net that does not get to have any needs of its own. I stayed calm. I smiled and said, absolutely, I was happy to be a friend. She lit up, talking about how mature and healthy this was and how rare it was to have such an evolved breakup. But that night, lying in bed, I made a different decision. If we were going to be friends, then she would get the kind of friendship where adults stand on their own feet. That weekend, while she was away at a wellness retreat, I packed my things. I found a small rental house about 20 minutes outside the city. On Sunday, I handled the practical side. I called the utility companies and transferred everything to her name. I contacted the internet provider and moved service to my new place. I removed my account from autopay for her car insurance and her phone bill. I stopped treating our shared life like my personal responsibility. On Monday morning, I sent her a simple text. I told her I had moved out over the weekend, that all utilities were now in her name, and that I wished her well with her creative exploration. The first call came on Tuesday afternoon. She had come home to find the internet down and some of the lights off. "Ethan, I think there has been some mistake with the utilities," she said. "No mistake," I told her. "I transferred everything so you can have full independence." That is what friends do. We help each other become self-sufficient. There was a long pause. Then she asked how she was supposed to afford all of it on her own. I told her she was smart and capable and that I believed she would figure it out. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is stop solving a problem that is not yours. By Thursday, reality started to land. The rent notice showed up, $1,500 due with no one else on the hook. Her car started making that same transmission noise again. The internet bill arrived, no longer just a line buried in my online banking. She called me crying that night. She said she did not know how to handle everything. She said she thought that when we agreed to stay friends, I would still help with some things while she got on her feet. That is when the truth became very clear. Riley had not wanted to end the benefits of the relationship. She wanted to end the responsibility that came with it. I told her that real friends help each other become stronger, not more dependent. I said the most helpful thing I could do right now was to let her prove to herself that she could handle her own life. Part of me wondered if I was being petty. Part of me knew that if I stepped back in, the pattern would never stop. After we split, she started posting on social media about toxic masculinity and men who could not handle emotionally evolved women. At first, it was vague. Then the posts got more pointed, about releasing people who would not support your growth. Our mutual friends noticed. Some reached out to ask if I was okay. Others asked what I had done to make her so angry. Around this time, I started hearing from her new roommate, Tessa. She is 25, trying to build a photography business, and she had taken over my old room in the apartment. Tessa messaged me about some apartment business, then admitted Riley had been telling her that I was financially abusive for cutting Riley off, and that she might not make rent. Tessa had already been covering more and more of the bills because Riley kept coming up short, so I helped Tessa make a basic budget and shared a few contacts who might need photography work. Just normal, decent help between two adults. Through those talks, I learned more. Tessa told me Riley had been taking expensive business courses, buying camera gear on credit, hiring a brand strategist, all while telling me she was being more responsible with money. Then, Tessa mentioned something that made my stomach drop. She said Riley had talked about a business loan she had taken out for her creative consultancy, and that she had a co-signer. Not long after, my friend Nate called. He is an accountant and handles my business books. Riley had reached out to him for help with her debt. During their conversation, she mentioned a small business loan with a co-signer. "Who is the co-signer?" Nate asked. "Ethan," she said. "We set it up when we were together." Nate hung up with her, then called me right away. He asked me to please tell him I remembered co-signing a business loan for Riley. I did not. I had never signed anything like that. I pulled my credit report. There it was. A $5,000 loan with my name attached, 4 months old. I had never applied for it, never signed for it, and never seen a dollar from it. She had used my personal information from an old joint trip booking, my social security number, my employment details, and bank information she had seen when we managed shared expenses. She had forged my digital signature. In that moment, I saw our whole history in a different light. This was not just about bad spending habits. This was about seeing my identity and my credit as tools. When someone is willing to cross into fraud, they are not just careless. They are telling you how little your trust matters to them. I called my lawyer. He said it was a clear case of identity theft and loan fraud. We could report it, and he was confident my name would be removed. Riley, on the other hand, would face serious consequences. He also said I could confront her first and try to work out a private deal, maybe even help her pay off the loan to avoid trouble. The old version of me would have done that. I would have called, listened to a long story, and tried to fix it quietly. This time, I chose something else. I told my lawyer to start the fraud process and keep it quiet for now. I wanted to see what Riley did when there was no way to talk herself out of consequences. Sometimes the only way to really know someone is to stop giving them a soft landing. Within 2 weeks, the bank flagged the loan as suspicious. Riley got an official notice that her credit was under investigation. That is when my phone lit up. Missed calls, voicemails, long text messages. At first, she sounded confused. She said there must be a mistake. Then the voicemails turned into crying, asking me to call her, telling me she thought we were still friends. The last ones were angry, accusing me of using the system to punish her for setting boundaries. I listened to every voicemail. Then I sent one text. Friends do not commit fraud. The investigation wrapped up 3 weeks later. The bank found clear evidence the signature was fake. My name was removed. The bank filed a fraud report. Riley was charged with identity theft and loan fraud. Her lawyer worked a plea deal. She avoided jail but had to pay back the full amount with penalties, serve 18 months of probation, and accept that her credit was wrecked. But that was not the end of the drama. Riley went into public damage control. She made an Instagram post about men using financial power to punish women who leave them. It got shared around. I started getting messages from strangers calling me abusive. She even set up a fundraiser to recover from financial abuse and legal manipulation. She raised some money before someone reported it, and the platform took it down. The offline part got worse. 1 month later, I was working on a kitchen renovation in Mount Pleasant. My truck with my business logo was parked out front, clear as day. I was inside taking down cabinets when I heard someone shouting my name. I looked out and saw Riley next to my truck, yelling, crying, waving her arms. The family who hired me was in their yard. Neighbors stepped outside to see what was happening. She was shouting about how I had ruined her life and destroyed her future, about how I was a coward hiding behind lawyers. It was loud, messy, and very public. I walked outside and told her in a calm voice that she needed to leave, that this was private property and she was disrupting my work. She got louder, accusing me of plotting revenge because I could not handle being rejected. The homeowners looked embarrassed. Their neighbors were watching this scene unfold with my business name right there on the truck. Then she said something that summed up her mindset. She said she loved me, trusted me, and this was how I repaid her for choosing to grow beyond our relationship. In her narrative, fraud and lies were part of growth. My refusal to carry the cost of that growth was the real crime. I told her, clearly enough for everyone to hear, that I had not ruined her life. She just no longer had someone standing between her choices and their consequences. The homeowner had already called the police. When Riley heard the sirens, she got in her car, shouted that this was not over, and drove off. Someone in the neighborhood recorded the whole thing. The video went online. You could see my truck, hear her yelling, "Watch me stay calm." The clip spread fast around Charleston. My phone started buzzing again, but this time it was people asking for quotes. They had seen how I handled a chaotic situation and decided I was the kind of contractor they wanted. The video turned into free marketing. This is one of those moments where life feels unfair and oddly balanced at the same time. Her attempt to damage my reputation ended up building it. In the months that followed, my business took off. I booked out 4 months ahead. I started a waiting list. I lined up several big projects for the next year. Meanwhile, Tessa told me Riley had to move back in with her parents in rural North Carolina. She could not afford the apartment, and the influencer thing had basically collapsed. People kept commenting under her posts, asking if she was the woman from the contractor video. Riley texted me once after that. She wrote that she hoped I was happy. I did not answer. The truth was, I was finally starting to feel steady. 10 months passed from the day she broke up with me to reconnect with her true energy, and 6 months since the meltdown video. My life looked very different. Business is strong. I hired 2 part-time employees. I am making more than I ever expected running a small renovation company. Tessa and I grew closer. We had been talking for months, mostly about practical things at first. Over time, it became more personal. She saw the whole situation from both sides and never tried to spin it. We are together now. She moved into my house 3 months ago, and we are talking about buying a place together next year. Her photography business is thriving. She shoots weddings, has more bookings than she can handle, and we approach money as a team. The difference in the relationship is huge. We split expenses in a way that feels fair. We share plans and problems instead of one person quietly picking up the pieces. At some point, I ran into Riley's sister, Harper, at a coffee shop. She is an ER nurse, practical and direct. She sat down and said she owed me an apology. She told me Riley had spent months convincing their family that I was a financial abuser who used the legal system against her. It was only when Riley moved home that they saw how serious her spending habits were. Harper said Riley borrowed money from their dad to buy a very expensive camera, claiming it was for her business. She spent a few days photographing her breakfast and then barely touched it again. That was when they began to question her version of events. Their father did his own research and found out about the fraud charges. When Riley tried to get them to co-sign more loans, he refused and told her that if she ever forged signatures again, he would report her himself. Harper said something that stayed with me. She told me I had done the right thing by walking away, that Riley needed to learn other people were not there to fix her mistakes. That is when it clicked. Riley was not some criminal mastermind. She was someone who had learned, step by step, that charm and emotional pressure could replace responsibility. As long as someone kept catching her, she had no reason to change. If I had stayed, I would still be carrying that weight, still wondering why nothing ever improved no matter how much I paid or fixed. Now I am living with someone who meets me in the middle. I am running a growing business. I have savings instead of secret debts tied to someone else's dreams. Riley wanted to find out who she was without anyone's influence. What she discovered is that she struggles to function without someone cleaning up after her choices. I found out who I am when I stop rescuing people from problems they create themselves. In a strange way, we both got the lessons we needed, even if only one of us is happy with the outcome. She once told me we would still be friends because I always looked out for her. In a way, that came true. She is now the story I tell when I talk about boundaries, while I am the example her family uses when they talk about letting consequences stand. You do not always need revenge when someone treats you badly. Sometimes stepping back and letting natural consequences do their work is enough. Lessons from this story. Lesson 1. When someone tries to keep the benefits of a relationship while canceling the commitment, they are not asking for friendship. They are asking for free labor. Lesson 2. Paying most of the bills and co-signing big things is not love by itself. If they do not respect your name and your credit, they do not respect you. Lesson 3. A person who will use your personal information to take out debt without asking has already decided your trust is disposable. Lesson 4. Boundaries are not abuse. Choosing not to fund another adult's lifestyle is not punishment. It is self-respect. Lesson 5. Real friends and real partners help you become more independent, not more dependent. Lesson 6. You learn a lot about someone when you stop cleaning up their messes and see how they behave when consequences arrive. What about you? If your ex wanted to stay friends but expected you to keep paying for their life, where would you draw the line? And have you ever had to step back and let someone face the results of their own choices?